This is ChatGPT. It's a new AI that's the amazing personal assistant. And right now we're going to test it out to demo it to say, hey, ChatGPT, I want you to write me an HTML page in code that is functions as a to-do app. And go. While it writes that, I'm going to read. Artificial intelligence has made significant strides in transforming various industries in the recent years, and ChatGPT here is no exception. It was developed by OpenAI, and it's an AI writing assistant that has the ability to generate entire articles, blogs, and essays, as well as brainstorming ideas for lists, outlines, and topics. With its advanced skills, as we can see here, and capabilities, ChatGPT, it's like a tongue twister. It has the potential to revolutionize businesses by increasing efficiency, productivity, and profitability. So in this video, we're going to explore all the different ways in which ChatGPT can benefit businesses and why you shouldn't miss out on this exciting new technology. That was a mouthful, and that whole thing was actually written by ChatGPT. We'll call it GPT. So GPT wrote that paragraph. That was weird, but okay, so it's done. It's like, bing, oven's done. Let's go in the oven and grab out our code. So it wrote the code. We're going to copy this code here. We're going to go to this website where you can paste the code and it will run it. Yeah. And then ready for this? What? It didn't just build a website. It built a web app that functions, has memory, and takes user input. And what? From that sentence, that's all I wrote, and it wrote that code. That is now the world we live in, and that's why this is incredibly world changing as far as there was like a world before AI and ChatGPT, and now there's a world after ChatGPT. And so I'm like, my brain is like hurting so much trying to like wrap my head around it. And so like we're going to talk about this, why this is important, and why you need to get in on this today. So let's talk about what this just is. So let me go back to my screen. So this opens up a new skill set called prompt engineering. And it's a concept where it involves discovering inputs that yield desirable and useful results. You want to think of it equivalent to like telling the genie in the magic lamp what to do. And in this case, GPT is the magic lamp, and it's ready to generate any text that you wish for. Like, this is wild. And so, but basically, if we really like zoom out and what is it? It's a natural language model. Basically, what they did was they trained this AI model with lots of information from the web. This gets into a lot of like copyright information, because a lot of this information and art and other stuff was scraped from the internet. So this really goes into the area of like what's IP and intellectual property and stuff like that. But basically it has all that knowledge, and what it does is it's really good at looking at what is the next logical like word, what is the next word that's going to be. So it just predicts the text. That's all it does. It doesn't have any like consciousness or memory or understanding or even context. Like, it just predicts what's the next likely word, but given the prompt. That is this is like wild. But this impacts so many different industries. And so like they just released this. So it came out, I think, November 30th. Today is December 20th. I just found out about this 4 days ago. Now I'm trying to like learn and rapidly wrap myself up to this new skill set and learning. Like, just for context, this is interesting. How long do you think it took ChatGPT to reach 1 million users? It was released on November 30th. How long do you think it took to reach 1 million users? Now, here we go. For context, it took Netflix 3 years and 5 months to reach 1 million users. Now, if we take Spotify, it took them only 5 months. If we look at Instagram, it only took them 2.5 months. ChatGPT onboarded 1 million users in 6 days. we're living in an exponential world, people. This is like, well, it's still, that doesn't hold the record. Right now, the record is for BTS. They reached 1 million TikTok subscribers in 3 hours and 31 minutes, but we're not counting them. Like, they're in a whole nother category. But let's look at it on a high level view. Like, what are 3 examples of how businesses can use GPT in their future to improve their businesses? And there's 3 really common examples of where this really thrives. And we'll actually dive into actual 3 demos to actually look at it. So the first one, because I want to give you guys just like 10,000 foot view. What is this tool? What could you use it for? What is potential, and where does it fit in business? So there's 3 examples. ChatGPT can help businesses generate more content faster and with less effort. Now that potentially increases revenue by allowing them to produce and publish more content in a shorter amount of time. Now we get into quality and all of that is a whole nother discussion. But area number 2, ChatGPT can assist with customer service by providing quick and accurate responses to inquiries, potentially increasing efficiency and customer satisfaction, which can lead to increased revenue. And lastly, a great way to conceptualize this tool is ChatGPT can be used to analyze and interpret data, such as sales and customer data, to identify trends and patterns that can inform business decisions and increase efficiency and profitability. For example, a business can use ChatGPT to analyze sales data to identify the most successful products and marketing strategies, which could then be prioritized to increase revenue. So anytime there's large amounts of data sets, law, software, or product or data or stuff like that, ChatGPT is great for taking all that information and summarizing it or turning it into what I call it like an oracle. Quick side tangent. Diego Forte wrote a book, Second Brain, and he put a post. He's like, hey, ChatGPT knows about my book. Ask it any question about my book. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I asked it, I was like, explain Second Brain to a 5-year-old. And it wrote it out. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Explain who should read this. And it wrote out who should read it. I was like, this is weird because it turns every book into like an oracle where you can walk up to a book and ask it personal questions that are related to what you're curious about and why you want to pick up that book in the first place. Like, that is... again, there's a whole lot of things we used to do before and now is done differently. So let's actually look at some real life examples in law, marketing, and software development. Well, software development I basically showed you, but we'll go a little more of how ChatGPT is changing industries. So let's bring up my fancy screen share, and then let's go into law. Hello, welcome to the world's first robot lawyer. This is a website called DoNotPay.com, and Do Not Pay is an app of the world's first robot lawyer. Basically, what it does is, so ChatGPT consumes large amounts of law and legal contracts and all of that, and then you can ask it to say, hey, well, we can actually, for shits and giggles, watch this. Write me a, privacy policy for a website. So while it goes ahead and, I have to log out and log back in. We're going to start clear, start a new one. I gotta regenerate. I just have to log out and log back in. Refresh, connects. Make sure you have secure connection, and then bam. Okay, so while it writes out a privacy policy template that you would traditionally hire an attorney for to write this out and tailor it based on whatever laws, ChatGPT right now is writing a very basic policy. You would hire a lawyer for it. Now, granted, you would 100%, and this is the caveat and the risk with all of this, is that you would never pass anything that ChatGPT just spits out as production value and final done. I have a poor Wi-Fi right now, and so that's you have to know the caveats with that, so you understand the limitations of what it can do and what it cannot do, because it will produce incorrect information. So you have to know the caveats with this. But in a context of law, you can use ChatGPT GPT to fight any one of these common features or cases or situations that you would hire an attorney for. Hey, can you help me fight medical fraud? Can you help me break a contract? Can you help me break my lease? Can you help me file for bankruptcy? Can you help me find lost airport items, fishing license, change mailing address, casino taxes, city repairs? Oh my god, like all government, like concert ticket scams. Even the most common is like finding parking tickets is like another common one. Help me find my parking ticket, for example. Like that is wild. Now, if we look at it like in like a production workflow kind of thing, you would want to put this tool or these types of tools in the first stage of whatever your workflow is, as far as like the idea generation or the research or the knowledge knowledge dump or information like that you're trying to gather. Basically, in that whole phase, that's where this ChatGPT is going to really thrive. Then it still needs to be reviewed by a human, and that's where I think like you still need experts in their field to have this past system 2 level thinking. System 1 thinking, like at first glance you're like, man, that's really good for like a first pass of it. Like say for example, like here we go, do we use cookies? Yes, we use cookies. Do we understand with that? Now this is a very basic terms or privacy policy, but it just wrote all this while I was talking to you. The insane amounts of productivity that this opens up. Like again, the caveats with this isn't production ready. I would never take this and publish it on a website, or I would never pass this off at final work. Like there's so much that still has to be revised or put into it and reviewed by an actual attorney. So, but this is just came out too. So that's why, my God, and this is going to grow at an exponential rate. And the best way I heard to conceptualize that was Sam from OpenAI, the CEO of the company. He says, what if the last 100 years of technological innovation happen in a year? He goes, we're not ready for that rate of change. Like there's three, we'll start with, there's 3 huge risks and dangers to this that like people like are like, here's the wall that or here's the cliff that we're heading off going 100 miles an hour. Number 1 is our rule of law or our government is not exactly efficient or up to date on changing times. Like we're still dealing with things like from 50 years ago, just like nonsense issues, and it's such an inefficient process, but it's designed to be corrupt. And so that's why it's like we don't have government or policymakers that are going to be ahead on this, like, so they're going to be behind on this. So that's 1. 2, our monetary policy or how we do trade or currency and money is that's a whole nother rig game. And that's like, so like we haven't changed that to make that like these systems of rule, system of like commerce, like these systems have not been made efficient. And so they're still running on the legacy software that's corrupt and blah, 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 blah. So that's where those 2 things that we really need lawmakers and a new economy to keep up with this new world, because this is now changed. Like we now live in what I read this, the new AI economy. There's a lot to like wrap our head around here about what's going on. But let's dive into another example and take a look at how AI is changing marketing. Because we like to look at this in different departments. Your marketing department in here, your marketing department produces A, content, and B, copy, are 2 of the most common things that they produce. This is a website called Copysmith, where for a monthly subscription, it integrates with ChatGPT, and then you get to create, let's see here, those use cases. You could create ads, blog templates, content, all sorts of stuff, all from this service. So this is going to be the great way to think about these tools are their assistants. They're not to be dependent on, and they're not to go to for source of truth. Like I would always question, I would always double check, and I would like, but that's the way you want to think of these tools, as whatever it's AI, it's right now going to help you be it's a really good assistant at marketing. It's a really good assistant at copy. It's a really good assistant at software development. And it's going to help pair with you to help you be a little better. You're still going to need experts to know that final QA, or what I call, I like to think of it as like the last mile, where basically in order for it to be production ready or for it to be shipped and ready and users can't tell the difference, like you still need an expert human to QA it, to know based on like human context, what is right, what is wrong, like not right or wrong, but what is missing to integrate it with the final application. Like we're always tweaking. Software developers, we copy paste code from the internet and then we tweak it. Lawyers, they copy legal templates and then they tweak it. And so a lot of what we do is, as experts, is they tweak information or tweak it for the final application. And so that's where you want to think about this in your workflow. The last example, or two examples. One, this is in OpenAI. When you create an account, it's completely free. Here they have a list of all different examples. And that's why I want to show here. Look at all this. Summarize for a second grader. You could give it a whole bunch of text and then write the sentence, hey, summarize this as if it was, so you're speaking to a second grader. And it will, like for this article, I copy pasted a whole 1-page article and I was like, I don't want to read this. Copy paste in there. And I wrote this and I was like, hey, explain to this, summarize this in 1 paragraph. And it did it. And I was like, that's efficient, but there's still a lot of knowledge, like abstraction and knowledge lost using this process, because the dangers and risks, you don't know where it gets, and it doesn't know where it gets its information. You can't fact check it. You can't ask it, where did you get this information? Show me how you produced this. It doesn't know that. It can't get that. It doesn't work like the human brain. It does things based on context of like the words and strings that you're doing. So look at this, text commands. This is helping me be a better software developer. Eventually SQL, classifications, emojis, Python, advanced tweet classifier. Hey, oh, this is cool. Explain code. This is fascinating. Okay, this goes into 2 applications, and I think this is so fascinating. This is cool because you can say, hey, take this text, and then you could say in ChatGPT, explain what this program does. Do I still have an internet connection? Yeah, I still have an internet connection. So this blew my mind. It will translate, just like how we translate languages from like English to Spanish. This will translate software code to human readable code, and human readable code to software, because I said, write me an HTML page that functions as a to-do app, and it wrote the code. Here, we're like, hey, I'm giving you some code. Explain to me what it does. And it's writing line by line, teaching me what this does. This is amazing, because I'm a I do Salesforce, and I had to write a Salesforce validation trigger, and I'm like, I hate triggers. Like I hate validation rules. And so I had to, I was like, I gave it to ChatGPT, and it was like 80% there. It was still off, but it gave me 80% of the answer, and I was like, man, that is pretty impressive. So here, I'm not gonna read it, but basically this, where you're like, I don't know what this does, translated for me. The same application can be done for if you're studying law, or you need to learn about law and you need to summarize this, anything from a law book. Take the text, put it in ChatGPT and say, hey, explain to me like a 5-year-old, or explain this like this, and it will do that for you. This changes education. Like that to me is like the real passion in education about this, is like how this changes education, because you could be your own like private tutor, kind of like, and ask it questions to help, hey, elaborate on that. But look at these examples. The code just goes and goes and goes. This is the mist. Create study notes. Like the last thing I want to leave you with is, I just downloaded this one. This is on iOS app. It's called ChatGPT. And so this puts ChatGPT, what you see here, exactly everything, functionality and everything, what you see there, in your phone. There's 2 subscriptions. There's like it's $100 a year, and you could just ask it a question. what I'm using it now, and what I'm finding the more functionality and more need is you upgrade to their, I think it's like $150 plan or something, and you can do dialogue where you could continue, where you could say, hey, and then you're like, okay, and then summarize TLDR last paragraph. And then it will summarize it in a TLDR, basically. This is cheating. But yeah, so that's handy, because having that in the field or out, I'm not always by my computers all the time. So having that out and handy, as far as like, instead of Googling for something, that where I think is going to be super handy. So your phone should have ChatGPT on it by the end of this episode. That is amazing. Like, but alas, I want to end this video with a message on how you should prepare for the impact that AI will likely have on society. Because there are many people who are in a more vulnerable and less privileged situation than either me or you. You see, as AI technology continues to advance, it's important for everyone to be aware of the potential impacts that it may have on society. Now, here are a few ways that you can prepare for the potential impact of AI. Rule number 1 is stay informed. This stuff is changing so fast at an exponential rate that I can't stress this first tip enough. Stay informed about the latest developments in AI technology and their applications. This will help you understand its potential benefits, also the risks of AI. For example, how I would never ship any of this in production ready or something like this. Like, then be like, oh yeah, it's done, ship. No. You need to know the impacts and risks of it, because how it may affect because it's going to affect different aspects of your life, your business, and your career. Number 2 is consider the ethical implications of AI. AI technology raises many important ethical questions, such as how to ensure that it is used fairly and equitably, and how to prevent potential negative impacts on society, such as loss of intellectual property. All the artists from DALL-E, the AI that could draw, that was built on data sets that were all from very well paid and not paid artists. It was built on their work. So we need to talk about that, and how are we going to deal with that as a society? The same with writers, and because now ChatGPT is all writing. So the last tip is, and this one's my favorite, develop new skills and competencies. As AI technology continues to advance, it is likely that many jobs and industries will be affected. I saw this type of trend and safely made the transition from a corporate 9-to-5 job to a software developer. That was the best decision of my life. That has allowed me the opportunity to work remotely, pursue a larger salary, and develop the skill sets that I would need for the next upcoming trend shift. So to stay competitive and relevant in the workforce, it's important to develop new skills and competencies that are in demand in the new AI-powered economy. Yeah, we live in that now. It's wild. This could include technical skills such as programming, data analysis, and machine learning, as well as soft skills such as critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. Using ChatGPT as an AI assistant to help me write this script for an episode was challenging because it forced me to develop a new workflow, but it quickly became rewarding, and I could already see it as a competitive advantage if you understand both the limitations, the benefits, and the risks. The last 2 takeaways I want you to have after listening to this episode is that you need to do 2 things. 1 is stay informed, because this stuff is changing, and this will impact your career, your life, and how you live. And number 2, you need to prioritize developing new skills and competencies to stay competitive in this global AI-powered economy. So I don't want you to get left behind and lose out on the massive opportunity. And so I want to invite you to my weekly newsletter community that I call Leveling Up, where I share extra tips like ChatGPT workshop that I'm hosting to help people get introduced and skilled in this new technology. I have a passion for education and training. So I also have another workshop called Clarity, where I level up your productivity. But these technologies and trends that I see and need are skill sets that I see that you need to have in order for you to be competitive in this new world. Because you're listening to this episode, You're not going to do that. You're going to download ChatGPT right after this, and then you're going to sign up for the newsletter, and then you're going to go register for an account and start playing with this amazing technology, because it's super fun. It is so fun to create whatever you wanted to create that script, create that movie, create that book, create that sound, that score, that music. Like, you can create so much now. Like, technology removes limitations, and this has removed both creativity and words. it's yeah, my mind hurts as far as like trying to keep up with all this. I hope you've learned a lot through this episode. I'm Jonathan Acuna. Stay blessed. I'll see you in the next episode.